Welcome to Carl DeGregorio's Desk Session 50. 50. We are there, which is not something to celebrate because, like I said, we're doing 52 as our sort of milestone. And hour, I mean mine, but as our hour as people who are paying attention. 50 being a nice round number for any endeavor, but 52 being an entire weeks of years, because the point of this was to do it every week. So still got our streak intact, and 52 will mark a year, and maybe there's some reassessment, maybe there's some figuring out what year 2 is going to be like. Figuring out, I've learned a lot about how many things didn't work. I think we're entitled to, since we're offering these things up, we're entitled to take down some of the early ones. I don't think you lose the count, but you can make those private, and they did exist at one point, and I'm sure they're out there somewhere. But eventually, as I move forward into things that I'm doing next, this is the part of curating your image, right? Springsteen, who I talk about a lot, is a fan of releasing archives of past endeavors, notebooks, 20th, 30th anniversaries, and stuff like that. And you get the notebooks and the rough drafts, and he just re-released. And I guess in his case, sometimes I've struggled to get through the new tracks because there weren't hits in there, and they were explorations, etc. So I guess his in-studio catalog, those albums from 72 onward, that's what he's doing that voluntarily. What I'm saying is someone like Prince has, in his life, did not release a lot of his unreleased stuff, and I'm sure his estate is rethinking that just as in terms of a cash cow. But and famous podcasters, sure, there are archives available, and you can see people's hair weight and loss and gain and things like that. And backdrops change, and microphones got better, and the guests started leveling up, and then the lights got good, and then it became a produced thing, and they had they have the off-camera fact checker and all that stuff, and things improve. And so and I don't know that they took down old ones, but a lot of cases they started even more produced than I have. So just the things I figured out over this period of time are that this stuff is easy because of it's not the same thing as scripted television. It's not the same thing as anchored reportage, or it's not the same as even influencing with scripts. So it's not difficult in terms of that. But obviously, where I would probably, and again, I'm doing like a wrapping up a year. I'm doing it a few episodes too early, but of course, there are a million things I'd do differently. There are a million things I'd love to improve on. But part of the whole package was also showing process, showing the work, being a rough draft, being about process. And so some encouraging data today. Bumped into a friend that I always bump into at a grocery store. Yeah, we catch up real quick, and we stand in the produce section yapping it up. And he's such a good friend that, and also just a in the biz kind of guy, that he's always comes with value added suggestions over time and over the years. And it didn't fail this time. I said, yeah, I did my one man show reading. It went really well, and now I got to find a place to produce it. And my girlfriend said, yeah, do you know any theaters? So she was part of the equation as far as asking the question, and boom, he did. And so I've reached out via that information card, the email. It's probably a lead generator for them. And it's not the first place I've sent that email saying, hey, do you have a place? One place still hasn't gotten back to me, and I doubt they're as busy as this place. And I won't name them, but just business practices being what they are, I'm learning a lot from being on the receiving end of services. So this was less than 24-hour turnaround reply with the information, and the good news, at least for this inquiry and where I wanted to go, is they have a 50-seat live performance theater. And I'd be getting back to them if I weren't doing this right now, but I am a day late on this. And again, while energy and inspiration and things like that abound, you want to jump in front of the mic or behind the mic, as it were, and get something down to keep our commitments. And as I have been increasingly interested in mood and how it fluctuates day to day, and what are the things, I was a little I've been a little flummoxed, or not flummoxed because I've been doing well with it, but I've been preoccupied and or must focus my attention on studying or renewing my real estate license, which again is like I have that in common with Tom Cruise, right? He was joking about all the certificates he has, and he goes, I have my real estate license, and everybody laughed. And if he did that voluntarily for no reason, or he probably moves and sells properties and stuff, but like if he did that, then credit to him with it's dry stuff. It's dry stuff, some of it, but again, the agony of the 145-hour course that I did during lockdown, I don't want to repeat, and I don't want to repeat the stress level at maximum on the proctored exam. I don't want to go through that again, even if I haven't practiced real estate. And even if it's just to carry a plastic card around with my name on it that says I'm a licensed real estate agent. Anyway, and it's only 45 hours. I'm just about at the halfway point. And I do it every day. And it's not due till October. And I guess I'm trying to remember if this... I know I was sort of a last-minute kid, but I also know that the few times I did last minute, I was so stressed that I did heed my own advice, and I never wanted to do that again. And so I guess I am a version of myself these days where I am, once it's all my responsibility, things like car registration, I do these things usually ahead of time. And again, like I said, this license is up at the end of October, like the 26th, I think. So I am well ahead, and I'm more than halfway through. And that just makes me feel, it makes me feel good about some of my habits and most of my habits. And I guess the other habit that I'm trying to shed, if I've sort of stumbled onto theme this week, and I've talked about this ad nauseum on this platform or on this vlog or what have you. A habit I am trying to shed is the shit on myself, harp on myself, critique myself, and overhype my emotional states of overwhelm, I guess is what it would be. And that's a habit I want to break. And doomsdaying and catastrophizing, I guess, is another habit I want to break. And to lean into my better natures of being ahead of time, being a quote-unquote conscientious person. I'm just not one of those casual people. I've been... there are quizzes along the way that help you progress in the software, and you have to pass them, but the quizzes kind of have unlimited attempts, and I get hundreds on those because they literally are like, a stop sign is red, is the study material. And then the question is, what color is a stop sign? And then you say red. So the quizzes are kind of very much in line with just helping you retain. And so you should be getting hundreds on shit like that. But then when the exam comes up, all you need is a 70. But you can only take it twice. It's the one where it counts toward your recertification. And all you need is a pass. And I found myself getting pissed at 83s and stuff. And it's silly because there's not a grade point average for your real estate license. So, and I guess what you put in is what you get out. And there are people who barely pass who are millionaires in real estate. So, and I don't even use it. But I guess some of that wanting to achieve stuff is endemic in me, and that I think is not a bad thing and more of a good thing. So, and I guess the zebra can't change their stripes, a tiger can't change their stripes. So, I want to be at the high end of things. So, I guess that's okay. And I guess to get just the 70 would mean you barely got by, which means you were really flailing. And I just don't like the guessing. I like to know, and I like to have a surety. And that was true in almost everything. Even in the bar, I used a measuring thing for the wine because they were always harping on whether the wine, we were pouring too much wine, but then they had 3-4 different glasses. So to pour it to a visual line on a glass when there's 4 different ones would mean the inaccuracy just on the glassware would probably lead you to believe you couldn't nail it. So the only way is to use the measuring. And everybody's like, why you're slowing yourself down? I'm like, I just don't want to guess. I don't want to fucking guess. And moreover, I don't want to be second guessed. And it's that whole, I guess, carpentry thing of measure twice, cut once. All that stuff. I just hate the idea that, just fudge it. And I guess that's why I like trivia, and it's probably why I like certain things where knowledge is measurable, I suppose. I imagine data and things like that, sports trivia, stats, all that stuff is appealing because it takes a lot of the questions out, I guess. But then as an explorer of the dramatic arts and the fiction arts or the writing arts, then I do believe that we miss if education is to do arts and sciences and humanities, and the Greek Socratic notion of education is you do math, you do it all, right? And so intelligence can be put to work in all these fields. What's happened today and what's happened in the marketplace is that soft skills, or how many times do you scroll through and you see like top 50 shitty, worthless college degrees, and I have one of those. And I was at odds sometimes with my training as an actor because I wished to be a writer too, and I was an avid student, and I like to read for pleasure even back then. And but then I would sort of block out. I'd get blocked out when I was forced to read shit for assignments, and so it was an early example of even the thing you most wanted to do. There are these points of friction, and it was very telling. You know what I mean? And I guess as I am now, I'm gonna now have to make an appointment to see this space. I have a tricky good feeling. It's not in my part of town, but it is on the west side. So I think that actually, as far as the pool of an audience, it's sort of central, semi-central, rather than all the way on my end of things. But there are some options, I think. I think there are options that I will explore, but I've had a thought to stream it simultaneously so that people who will come to see it live and then also you can see it streamed and then I guess recorded for posterity. But again, this is all sort of lining up with a development of what will be a year's time to maybe think about Edinburgh Fringe Festival or some travel with it to see if I can, up traveling with my art, which has always been a dream, to see places because you were shooting in places, or see places because you were acting in places, like England or etc., New York, LA, various parts of the world, parts of our country. That that would be a good way to that was sort of the fantasy thinking. And as far as a habit, I think I need to start working on latent and or atrophied skill sets that were deemed shallow or that were deemed insipid. And I don't blame that on anybody familiarly or in the familial sense, but it comes from somewhere, or it's just a learned behavior. I joke about, in my book, I say if pessimism were the state bird, it would be the state bird of New Jersey. I don't know. If pessimism was a bird, it would be the state bird of New Jersey, I guess is what I said. And maybe that's true to a degree, but I have gone so far, I haven't done it yet. I haven't committed to the art supplies because I am already doing it right in front of your eyes. I am committing myself to the one part, the dream board. I am committing to, right now I'm in the image collection, visualizations of things that I either want or symbols of things that I want. And I am going to print these fuckers. And because what else would my show, when I had to go to Staples or to print things that I wound up not needing printed because we wound up using the PDF on the screen, but just the collection of images and all that if that's not dream boarding, I don't know what is. And so I am compiling images and I'm going to do it. And it was the thing. I did every exercise in the artist way after probably 4 failed attempts. I've purchased the book 3 times, and I have only gone through it 1 time, honestly, and with the effort it entailed. And I've given the book away twice because it just seemed like quote-unquote mumbo-jumbo. And then I did the morning pages for years. I have not kept that up, and Artist Way people will know what I'm talking about, but I skipped the collage fucking part. I just couldn't get around the collage part because the book was written in the 90s is what I was telling people. The book was written in the 90s, and you could go to a newsstand and for 20, 30, maybe $20 you could get 4 or 5 magazines and you could find your images. But to do it out of a goddamn magazine today, it's it's $150-$60 in magazines you would need to have. You'd have to buy a fucking auto magazine and a Sports Illustrated magazine, and then maybe a GQ, and you're out fucking $50. So now you can do images and just screenshot them and then go print them, and so that's what I'm doing. And because I have noticed that I have sort of fallen off track a bit, where I was visualizing negative outcomes, visualizing doomsday outcomes, visualizing woe is me outcomes. And so I think I have a predisposition to it for whatever reasons that may be. And I have to course correct, and I have to try the opposite and try things that previously would be self-mocked or mocked from afar. I've been in enough people's spaces where they have the damn dream board behind their bathroom door or on their bathroom sink. And guess what? Guess the fuck what? Those folks that had those were doing most of the things they've wanted to do, or at very least were monetarily rewarded in their fields, and at very least were high achievers. So how fucking right was I to think that was insipid? And it's time to sort of invest in myself and into the possible rather than the probables, and the possible rather than the the things that I will negatively attract, etc., etc. And if I think, if you could go, if money being no object, you see this with Stallone, maybe a bad example, but Stallone, Tony Bennett, I think Mickey Rourke, a lot of these motherfuckers are multidisciplinary artists. They paint, and some are better than others. I think Mellencamp's a pretty good painter. I don't have that talent, but I understand I think once the money gets good or taken care of, and you get to sing for your supper and then have your supper and then have your downtime between songs, you can indulge other things. And then painting becomes something joyful to do. And so, when you were 7 years old and you were asked to do a dream board, or whatever the fuck it was called. I guess it would have been called collage or some shit like that. Or when you adorned the walls of your bedroom, like, I guess that's a girly thing, but I had inherited a bedroom when everybody moved out, and it had this cool feature, I guess, that my brother put in there, was like a floor-to-ceiling section of the wall that was cork panels. So all you had to do was get push pins, and that's how the fuck I got to put up all my Springsteen shit and Simple Minds and U2 and all that fucking shit. And then funny stuff, and then eventually, stuff of me doing stuff, And, again, that's before you were paying your own freight, or before you had to worry about the real world. But again, once you think about that, then why would you mock the idea of a dream board? I guess what happens is this is where I got judgy, is it's personal. So I guess who am I to say a Lamborghini is a bad image to put out there as something on your dream board? I mean, I think it's a douche car. Doesn't mean I'm right about that. I can barely get out of my fucking sedan, so I can't imagine trying to get into one of those. But, and that is a statusy thing and a thing that people, but there is also, they are very rare, and they are quote unquote mechanical works of art, like watches, etc. And I do like watches, but I understand. I try not to be materialistic in my dream board, but then there I go again, trying to like fucking do it right, or do it. Cause guess what? There's some cool fucking, like a Maserati truck would be a fucking dream car, and why wouldn't I put that on my fucking dream board? And would it make me a bad guy to have it? And would it make me a bad guy to aspire to it? And what makes me so deep and somebody else so shallow? And there's all the luxury cars got electric versions, if that's important to you, So, anyway, I will let you know how that goes. Maybe one day I'll reveal it. I don't fucking know. And again, it's just a totem. It's a way, this wall behind me has examples of things. It has my college degree. It has the first movie, my first paycheck from being in a movie. It has a poster of a play I did that was also in the newspaper. It's got the flyer for my play that I did in New York. So that's my dream board that I spent money to put in frames. And so I'm going to do it again, but this time with that notion of aspiration and future seeing and positive visualization. And I got to do something, to be honest with you, because I am noticing the swirl again, and I have to I have to combat it. And I have to think about what's going to go on with this in the future. And, again, it would be very, sure, I probably should have higher numbers of contact, but I don't think the algorithm responds until they kind of know you're prolific. And the sad truth is 50 is not prolific. It's consistent for 50, and 52 is a year, but it is not, it's a drop in the bucket. So who am I to think a mass audience should be at its feet for me at this point? I still have to go out there and make a name, make a mark. It's just, I guess you feel frustrated because of the years of efforting that you think should go into the equation, and it really doesn't. And that is one of the few things that makes the algorithmic nature of where media is these days, is that might is right. And we kind of went into the arts thinking that might didn't always have to be right, and that quality versus quantity could be, in the process of it. And, until he won for an Oscar, you're going to tell me Gary Oldman wasn't as good as fucking, certain people or certain movies, that didn't win, things like that. And so that's the subjectivity of it. But I will also kind of go back to, using brain power and studying, and, whether math and science makes you smarter. And I will say that precision of words, and I don't know if that I exhibit much precision in these sessions, but when I do write and when I am working on my show, I think there's an engineering element to written words, and there's an engineering element to scripts, and there's an engineering element to plays and stuff. And so where someone would rule out someone as being less smart because they were in the arts versus someone who were an engineer or a scientist, there is an economy of, there's word choice, and that, comics and things like that. There's word choice and precision of words that is, it's definitely trial and error. So it doesn't work on the premise of equations and the math being right and the angles being right. But funny is funny, and there is an engineering to those words, and there is an engineering to a good plot, and there is, and I will tell you, I don't mean this as any kind of, I don't think it means I'm insincere or that I was being egotistical, but, when you do public speaking at weddings, funerals, meetings, etc., and stand-up comedy is just the highest art of spoken public speaking. When you do that, you know what you're doing over time. And I knew the assignment at this recent public offering, and I was in control of the dynamics of it and the words I chose, the time I allotted myself. I stayed very much on target. I had a quote. I did all of these things that are probably included in packages taught about public speaking, which I know I could definitely do. I could definitely help someone who had to make a presentation. I could help them on the content for sure, and I could help them on the delivery for sure, and ultimately I could probably help them on the timing, and I can't help people on whether or not they're prepared. And then that is I think the third element would be the content, the performance, and the preparedness. And so, teleprompters, et cetera, make it a little easier. But even when you're off, people don't know, when I did my reading, I was very much pulling back on indulging the moments because I was nervous, and I was pulling back on the indulgence of the performance because I was mindful of the time, and I wasn't memorized. But the amount of fluency I had with the 30 pages of me speaking that even had the tiniest bit of potential to keep an audience entertained, the preparation up till then was massive. And so I'm looking forward to taking it to that ultimate level of preparation where I know it cold, which was always the Achilles heel for me in stand-up, I think. Anxiety being the overriding theme in my life and probably in my stand-up was I was always freaking out about where the fuck am I in this set? Where the fuck am I? And I just couldn't relax because I didn't get enough preparation in. And so I couldn't relax into my bits and I couldn't relax on stage. And I just didn't have this innate sense of time where I knew what 20 felt like, where I knew what 15 felt like, where I knew what 40 felt like, or an hour. And so it was this huge hurdle. And then I became very reliant on notes, which was only kind of okay at, bar shows and only okay at my own shows. It wouldn't have been okay at like the Improv. It wouldn't have been okay at the store. And then when I did have opportunities at the Improv or at the Comedy Store, I was then hyper stressed and then would prepare to get this set down and locked. But it would take away some spontaneity and things like that. And so I guess for me, the only way to be spontaneous is to be so fucking prepared and to be so ready to rock. And, it's going to be an interesting process that I think if I can get back to this guy and make a fucking plan to see it this week, that I can start to think about, is this, I don't want to talk about where it is yet, because if I don't use it, then, but it's like an off the beaten track kind of venue, which I like. I've always had a fantasy of doing like a one-man show at McCabe's Guitar Shop because they do shows there, but that's probably a waste of the space and it's not really about music. So, you know what I'm saying? But like the idea of, off the beaten track venues, other than like, real big venues, but like places where you wouldn't normally think to see a show of that, like a one-man show or a stand-up. I guess Carnegie Hall is the big get, I think Richard Lewis did that, Robin Williams, but that's more esteemed venues. But I'm talking about if I can show some craft and selectivity, and if it works for me and it can help the venue be put on the map, if I do well with it, then all that stuff I think goes in the hopper. And that's why I lament getting an 83 on my exam for real estate, even though all I need is a pass. And it's how you do anything's how you do everything. And so that can be true in the negative too. I think I've used that mantra as a flattering myself, saying I'm very diligent, but it could also be I approach things from a pessimistic point of view. And I guess that's the big change. That's the big change I want to make, and sort of lean in on what I think I have to offer. And hopefully this was helpful to me finally to sort of do it a day late, but to relax into getting over a little bit of a blip and getting back on with it. And I hope we can all sort of have a productive week and make this thing work. And I will keep you posted on how this checking out this venue goes, and if I will have by next week even made an offer or a deposit or picked a date and all that exciting stuff that I think maybe it's what I'm going to need. I'm saying I need a director. I'm like, I think I need the place to do it. And then you can ask a director, even if they're busy, or I might need a director to come in at week 2, 3, or 4 because it's a one-man show, because I wrote it, because I have some ideas, because I know what I'm doing in the theatrical sense, that maybe the director doesn't have to come in until I am memorized, or maybe the director doesn't have to come in until Tech Week, and he's sort of she is the third eye when I rotate into performance only, And then there's sort of a producer, director, stage manager. Maybe it's a hybrid I'm looking for. And all that good stuff. And that way I don't have to that question, hey, do you know anybody who wants to direct a one-man show? The fucking answer is no fucking way. No way. Right? But if the dude has been working on it himself, has a date to do it, and then is only requiring you for 2 weeks, 3 days a week, something like that, where you can work out the schedule, and there's a credit and some pay involved, then maybe somebody would want to direct it, but they don't want to be. And this is something I knew going into this. I used to always get hey, we should write together, man. I'd love to write with you. And I didn't think that was I'd probably been the guy asking it back in the day. But it's always an entreaty or a plead to help. I need help motivating, or I need help to get to the finish line. And if you can't, you can't get that kind of help if you can't do it yourself, because then you're asking for more than 50-50 on the deal. So that would be what I need to apply to, this idea of maybe getting the venue first and then assembling the team. And also, which my girl reminded me, if Edinburgh is a thing, don't you have to do it a couple times before next year to see if it works, to tighten it up? And that's the answer. So anyway, I will keep you posted on that. That is some progress. I'll still be slugging away on this GD real estate, and I'll have to make some choices about some other financial ideas and needs and what the hell I'm doing with my life. But to be continued, like life is, if you're lucky, it will be to be continued. So peace, Death Session 50 in the can, and almost closing in on a year. So thanks for that. And this was Carl D. Gregorio. Peace.